Hello guys, once again welcome to the podcast. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Kindly share our channel with your networks. Invite your friends to subscribe to our channel. Invite your friends to watch our videos. Share this video. Leave us your feedback on the comment sections. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know how we are doing, and please subscribe. Click on the notification bell so that you'll be notified when we go live. You'll be notified when we upload new content. Thank you for your support, guys. We really appreciate. We welcome you also to follow us on our social media platforms at The Hotcast on Facebook, at _The Hotcast on Twitter. We really appreciate your support, guys. Thank you so much. So, Roads, Transport and Public Works Cabinet Secretary nominee Kipchumba Murkomen finally resigned as Elgeyo Marakwet Senator. Of course, the resignation came after National Assembly approved the names while making his last contribution before the Senate in the form of a personal statement. Murkomen said his stint as Senator of Elgeyo Marakwet was coming to an end. He said he was going to hand in his resignation letter to the Senate Speaker Amason Kingi before the end of the day. I quote, this morning our sister house approved the names of cabinet secretaries, nominees, including my name. Following that approval, my departure from this august house is now imminent. I am standing here with mixed feelings because the Senate has been my home for over 10 years, said Mr. Murkomen. The Senate in the form of a personal statement. Murkomen said his stint as Senator of Elgeyo Marakwet was coming to an end. He said he was going to hand in his resignation letter to the Senate Speaker Amason Kingi before the end of the day. I quote, this morning our sister house approved the names of cabinet secretaries, nominees, including my name. Following that approval, my departure from this august house is now imminent. I am standing here with mixed feelings because the Senate has been my home for over 10 years, said Mr. Murkomen. The time has come that the tenure for the people of Elgeyo Marakwet entrusted to me has come to an end. Anytime this afternoon, I will hand in my resignation letter to you. Reminiscing on his time at the Senate, Mr. Murkomen said he was leaving Parliament for the executive, a proud person, having been a member of many initiatives in the Senate. The 43-year-old was elected to the Senate in 2013, only at 33 years. Flooring political heavyweights, including the late powerful Moi-era Minister Nicholas Biwott, popularly known as the Total Man. He said that despite his unknown background and facing seasoned politicians, Elgeyo Marakwet voters decided to elect him. I competed with seasoned politicians, including the late Nicholas Biwott, notwithstanding my financial net worth, my unknown name and background. The people of Elgeyo Marakwet, having listened to my manifesto, agreed to elect me to come and serve in the House, he said. During his first term, the father of four was elected to serve as the deputy majority leader of the Senate, saying many seasoned politicians mentored, worked with, and trusted him with responsibilities. He was also elected the first chairperson of the Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations Committee, and he was a pioneer member of the County Public Accounts and Investment Committee, CPIC. You remember the challenges we went through as a committee, summoning governors to appear before us, he said. In 2017, Murkomen was re-elected to the Senate and served for 2 years as its majority leader, where he fiercely fought for the protection of the Senate and its mandate. He recounted how he lost his majority leader position after falling out with President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration. I disagreed with the executive order of the very party that nominated me as a majority leader. The president might have been very angry with me, but I swore to defend and protect the constitution. I am happy that time has proven that I was right on this issue of NMS, considering that the things and the misdeeds that happened in Nairobi County. He urged senators not to drop the ball in defending devolution, especially Article 110 of the Constitution relating to the county governments. I served the Senate and the country with a lot of diligence, commitment, and passion. It is not for me to tell Kenyans whether I have left a legacy or not, but it is for the historians to write that, he said. We wish Murkomen all the best as he moves on to work as cabinet secretary. And we hope that he performs as a cabinet secretary. We know, okay, we have faith in Kipchumba because he's a good man. He's a man who understands current affairs. He's a man who understands things that go on. He understands government very well, and we know he's going to perform. We know that Kipchumba has been an ardent supporter of President William Ruto, but as the president said, he has not elected cabinet for anybody, and we hope to see them serve the will of the people of Kenya. Others who resigned from parliament are, of course, Duale and Kandara member of parliament, that is Wahome. We wish them well. We hope they do well. Please listen into what Kipchumba had to say in parliament in a very, very moving speech. So thank you guys kindly. Once again, we invite you to please subscribe to our channel or watch our videos. Leave us your feedback in the comment sections. Give us that thumbs up. It is very encouraging when we see one. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you guys.
Because Senate has been home for over 10 years. In the year 2013, I was elected by the people of Elgeyo-Marakwet County on the 4th of March 2013 to serve as the senator for Elgeyo-Marakwet County. That time, Mr. Speaker, I was barely 33 years. Mr. Speaker, in the context that led to my election, I competed with seasoned politicians, including the late Nicholas Biwott, whom, Mr. Speaker, was my worthy competitor, and the people, notwithstanding my financial status, my unknown name, my unknown background, the people of Elgeyo-Marakwet County, having listened to my manifesto, agreed to elect me to come and serve them in this house. Mr. Speaker, I am eternally grateful that despite that background, my people decided that they were going to vote for me. And Mr. Speaker, when I came here, my colleagues whom we served together, many of whom were very seasoned politicians, worked with me, walked with me, mentored me, respected me, Mr. Speaker, and from the onset, I was entrusted with responsibility in this chamber. I became the first chair of the Devolved Government and Intergovernmental Relations Committee. I became, Mr. Speaker, a member of the Public Accounts Committee, pioneer member of the Public Accounts Committee, and that County Public Accounts Committee, for my colleagues whom we were together here, you remember the challenges we went through, summoning governors to come to this house and shaping, Mr. Speaker, the relationship of this house in some matters of accountability with counties. I became, Mr. Speaker, a member of the Speaker's panel from day one. I had the responsibility of chairing sessions of this house on behalf of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker when they were not in session. And Mr. Speaker, I was also given the honor of being, Mr. Speaker, a member of Pan-African Parliament. And through that, Mr. Speaker, I served this country and this Senate with a lot of diligence, commitment, passion. And what I remember, Mr. Speaker, is that it didn't take 6 months. And as a chair of devolution committee, I had to guide the House when we decided that we had to go to Supreme Court for an advisory opinion at a time when the mandate of this House, Mr. Speaker, was being challenged by the National Assembly. And this House, Mr. Speaker, must be remembered that in the first Senate, the first year of the Senate, we did not get the opportunity to, Mr. Speaker, discuss county allocation of revenue bill and, Mr. Speaker, division of revenue bill, because at that point in time, the National Assembly thought we should not have that mandate. And because of our concerted effort as a team and the trust that the leadership of the House that time, Senate, had, we managed, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that we get an advisory opinion from the Supreme Court that protected the authority of this House and the jurisdiction of this House, Mr. Speaker, which sadly has continued to suffer in the hands of, Mr. Speaker, our sister House in the National Assembly. It didn't take 3 years, Mr. Speaker. In 2016, one of my colleagues, Senator Charles Keter, who was the Deputy Majority Leader, was nominated in the same way I have been nominated to serve in the cabinet. And the opportunity that came, my party, Mr. Speaker, nominated me and approved me to be the Deputy Majority Leader. Again, Mr. Speaker, at a young age of, Mr. Speaker, barely 36 years, I became the Deputy Majority Leader of this House. And Mr. Speaker, from then onwards, Mr. Speaker, I also relinquished other responsibilities. But it must be remembered also, Mr. Speaker, that at a time when we had a challenge about the mandate of this House, I became a chair of a select committee deputized by Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. then to protect again and find ways of using the Constitution to protect the mandate of this House. Mr. Speaker, I have been lucky to be part of many initiatives in this House, including being a member of a joint committee, Mr. Speaker, of both Houses that looked into electoral reform that was formed, Mr. Speaker, in 2016, and that led to the massive electoral reforms that then chaired by Senator Kiraitu Murungi and Senator Orengo. Mr. Speaker, I leave this House having sponsored a number of bills and having pushed many bills as Majority Leader, Mr. Speaker, because I was re-elected in 2017, given the responsibility of being the Majority Leader. And for the 2.5 years I served as a Majority Leader, I pushed so many bills and fought again, continuously fought for the authority and the protection of the mandate and jurisdiction of this House on matters bills, especially on the operationalization of Article 110 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that responsibility required at times to disagree with the executive of the very party, Mr. Speaker, that nominated me. I believe some of the reasons why I was removed as Majority Leader, apart from other external political reasons, is, Mr. Speaker, I brought to this chamber a 20-page statement challenging, Mr. Speaker, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services as an entity, Mr. Speaker, taking over responsibilities of Nairobi County. The President then might have been angry with me as the Majority Leader, but I remember, Mr. Speaker, that I swore that I will protect and defend the Constitution. I'm glad, Mr. Speaker, that as time goes, time has proven, Mr. Speaker, that I was right on the issue of Nairobi Metropolitan Services, considering the things and the misdeeds that happened in the Nairobi city. Mr. Speaker, there were so many instances here that we had to do things that sometimes we disagree with the executive, privately or publicly. And I believe that that example that we set will assist the leadership of this House, particularly my friend Senator Aaron Cheruiyot, as he pursues, Mr. Speaker, as he leads this House, particularly being the political leader of the majority side, to ensure that even though he is a friend of the President, and even though he comes from the majority party, that he may not lose sight of his responsibility to defend and protect the Constitution and protect the mandate, Mr. Speaker, of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I know that time has come, like the Bible says in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, that, Mr. Speaker, there is a time for everything. And, Mr. Speaker, time has come. The 10 years that the people of Elgeyo Marakwet entrusted me to serve in this House, Mr. Speaker, has come to an end. Anytime this afternoon, I will hand in my resignation letter to you, Mr. Speaker. That even as I do so, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I'm very proud of my tenure in this House for 10 years. It is not for me to tell Kenyans whether I left a legacy or not. It's for historians to write about my responsibility in this House. There's a lot we would have achieved, Mr. Speaker, had we sorted the problem of relationship between this House and the National Assembly. There's a lot, Mr. Speaker, our country would have benefited if there was a proper implementation of Article 110 of the Constitution insofar as bills concerning county. There is a lot that this country lost, Mr. Speaker, by denying the opportunity, Senate the opportunity to contribute to matters of bills. That is one area, Mr. Speaker, even as I exit from this door, Mr. Speaker, to the executive, That is one area I will continue being an ambassador of the Senate. That is one area, Mr. Speaker, I will work with the leadership of this House to ensure that the executive respects the mandate of the Senate. And luckily, we have had many discussions with the current president about protection of the mandate of the Senate. And I believe that we shall be able to achieve this through consultation, cooperation, and more so, Mr. Speaker, through very transformative leadership that will be offered by this House. Mr. Speaker, I leave this House knowing that I leave very great men and women whom, Mr. Speaker, were recently elected. And unfortunately, I used to joke, especially to the majority side, particularly our SG knows that it was, I was telling her it would have been my greatest pleasure to be here to mentor her, but also to monolize her a little bit. Mr. Speaker, I have not had that chance. She has just told me, you are leaving before you did anything to monolize us. But, Mr. Speaker, the men and women elected on both sides of the House are people who have served this country in very senior capacities, Mr. Speaker, people who have relevant experiences, Mr. Speaker, in different fields and in different professions, Mr. Speaker. I believe that if they take their responsibility seriously, and I want to tell honorable members here, you don't know what's going on inside me. There are things I'm very proud I did, but there are things I regret that I didn't take time to do. Maybe I would have done more bills. Maybe I would have come with more statements. This is a forum, Mr. Speaker, we must be honest to one another, that we are so privileged to be among the only 67 men and women entrusted by the people of Kenya to run the affairs of the Senate. And how many 50 million Kenyans would wish one day they would enter that door? We must never take it for granted, Mr. Speaker. We must make sure that our names are inscribed in the annals of history. We must make sure, Mr. Speaker, that Hansard one day will say there were men and women who came through this door, Mr. Speaker, and as they left legacy in this House. And I think that is the message I want to leave to you, my colleagues. I am proud that inside these chambers, there are colleagues we schooled together. Senator Sigei, who is my legal partner, Mr. Speaker, was a class behind me. Mr. Speaker, the Secretary General of ODM, Senator Sifuna, who was also a classmate of Sigei. So that's the people we schooled together, friends of our generation. Mr. Speaker, I have two students in this House. Senator Cherargei and Senator Chimera, Mr. Speaker, are sitting in this House as my former students. I have also, Mr. Speaker, sat in this House with my teachers. Unfortunately, there are none who are here, but of course, you all know I keep saying here that Senator Kindiki was my teacher and my leader when we were here together. And Mr. Speaker, many other people, including our senior clerk, Mr. Speaker, Eunice Kishangi was my teacher. So this place presents us an opportunity to have everybody a cocktail of leadership, from the senior Uhuru Odinga, Mr. Speaker, to a young Senator Cherargei, Mr. Speaker, and Senator Chimera, gives us that opportunity to transfer leadership and create a concoction of leadership, Mr. Speaker, that is able to assist and make Kenya a better country. Even as I go and serve in the executive, I know that I am removing my political cloth, Mr. Speaker, my otherwise partisan political cloth, that sometimes you must be able to defend your political side. But when I go there, I will be required to serve everybody equally without considering their political side, their political persuasions, Mr. Speaker. And I look forward to visiting all constituencies, all wards, all counties, Mr. Speaker, without consideration of who voted for who, Mr. Speaker, and serve this country to make it a great nation. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I believe that the challenges that are before us, Mr. Speaker, are not unsurmountable. It is actually possible to resolve them. Number one, we must pursue, Mr. Speaker, a full implementation of Article 110 of the Constitution. The case that is pending in the Supreme Court, Mr. Speaker, we must take in the goodwill of having a former senator, an immediate former senator of Bungoma, serving as the Speaker of the National Assembly, and having, Mr. Speaker, Senator Cheriot, his colleague and his friend, being the majority leader here, and having, Mr. Speaker, yourself and the Speaker of this House. All of us must be able to sit down, both sides, Senator Matsayo leading the minority side, and, Mr. Speaker, hammer an out-of-court settlement, a consent, Mr. Speaker, recorded at the Supreme Court. My my dream is not to withdraw the case, but to have a consent recorded, Mr. Speaker, on the operationalization of Article 110 of the Constitution. That way, we will respect the mandate of the Senate. Number two, Mr. Speaker, in the immediate period that is before us, we must be able to ensure that the Senate has an oversight fund. If you look at senates in the world, all parliaments in the world, including the United States, where citizens sometimes accuse senators of having a lot of salary in this country. It is true that salaries of the U.S. senator, Mr. Speaker, might be modest, but look at the support system they are given behind, Mr. Speaker. It runs into millions because they are facilitated to have public participation with their voters. They are facilitated to carry out audit reports. They have even tickets to fly to their counties and come back. Mr. Speaker, we are not asking the favor. The Senate is not asking for a favor. It's asking, Mr. Speaker, that the Senate and senators be facilitated to perform their responsibilities. Even if, and I know because I've interacted with many senators here, none of them is asking to be given money to manage. They want money be given to Senate, Mr. Speaker, and be allocated to their constituencies and counties for them to go and do public participation audits, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that the resources that are given to counties will make sense. I will ensure that I incorporate the intergovernmental relations requirement in my leadership in the executive to make sure that the working relationship between counties and national government is achieved for proper accountability, Mr. Speaker, and proper use of the resources. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I believe that the challenge we must surmount in this chamber, and I've seen it before, we must ensure that we work bipartisan. Mr. Speaker, one of my most memorable moments in this House is when we protected marginalized counties in the county allocation of revenue bill. Mr. Speaker, countless times in this House, we sat together, all of us from both sides of the political divide, and Mr. Speaker, crossed the floor to interact and persuade each other to make sure that when it is national interest, there will be no, Mr. Speaker, Azimio, and there will be no Kenya Kwanza. There will be only one Kenya that will be able to produce results to protect the citizens of this republic. And when the time comes for discussing that formula again, or any other matter that is national in nature, I look forward to a leadership in this chamber that will cross the floor to negotiate and consult about, Mr. Speaker, leadership in this House. I cannot exhaust my 10 years, the experience I've had, Mr. Speaker, being the captain of the football team, and Mr. Speaker, scoring so many goals in Arusha and other parts of this country, Dar es Salaam, and other areas, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of Bunge FC. I will miss those great moments. I hope to continue training with the Bunge FC and perhaps participate in the East African parliamentary games, Mr. Speaker. I cannot exhaust the countless times we went for trips, Mr. Speaker, both nationally and internationally, to see what other countries have done. And now we brought back those experiences here. I made great friends. Unfortunately, I have not had enough time to interact with the current lot of senators, but I look forward to coming back here anytime I am summoned, Mr. Speaker, including almost summoning myself, so that I can participate with colleagues here to ensure that the ministry I'm going to head is meaningful to the people of Kenya. To the people of Elgeyo Marakwet County, I am forever grateful. To my family, Mr. Speaker, my wife and my 4 little children, Mr. Speaker, I am forever grateful. To my family, my parents, who struggled through tough times in life, to educate me and give me this opportunity to reach this far, I am forever grateful. And to the President who nominated me to be a Cabinet Secretary, I want to say, Mr. President, I was with great humility,